not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. I'm going to tell you some things. You're not going to believe these things that I tell you. And that's okay. You have good reason not to. But I need you to keep listening regardless of what you believe. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, or somewhere in between. I don't care if you're a cat person, a dog person, or a tarantula person. Morning person or night owl. iPhone or Android. Coke or Pepsi. I don't care. All I care about is that you read this to the end. Sound good? Then let's begin. You may have heard that George Washington had wooden teeth. I put the fur in the First Amendment. He lost most of his teeth in the 20s and had a set of dentures made out of wood. It's a disturbing visual. The founding father, commander-in-chief, and the first president of the United States click-clacking his way through a ham sandwich. Would you like a bite? Except it isn't true. In 2005, at the National Museum of Dentistry in Baltimore, laser scans were performed on Washington's 200-year-old dentures and found them to be made of gold, lead, hippopotamus ivory, horse, and donkey teeth. His mouth was a petting zoo of nightmares. Upon learning this information, I want to ask you something. How does it feel to learn this new fact about George Washington's teeth? I stated a thing, I provided evidence of that thing, and presumably you now believe in the thing that I stated. Presumably, your belief in the composition of George Washington's teeth has changed with little or no friction. Presumably, the next time you're at a party and George Washington's teeth come up in a conversation, you're going to proudly impart the newfound knowledge to your fellow partygoers. Yes? Terrific. Let's continue. What if I told you George Washington had another set of false teeth? What if I told you that this other set wasn't made from wood, ivory, or any of their aforementioned materials? What if I told you it was made from the teeth of slaves? Now, let's try this again. How did it feel to learn this fact about George Washington? Any more of that friction I mentioned earlier? Before we go any farther, allow me to reiterate. I am not here to convince you that George Washington was a bad person. I could go through all my cited sources and cherry-pick arguments that either defy or demonize George Washington. I could paint a portrait of a monster, or I could exonerate a patriot. But as I said before, I don't care. It's not the point. The point is to give you an emotional barometer of how you feel when presented with new ideas. Because you may have noticed that the first fact about George Washington's teeth was rather easy to accept. I would even wager that when I told you the first fact, you accepted it without question. Oh my, how gosh darn interesting. But when I told you the second fact, you immediately checked my sources and are now furiously composing an informed yet incendiary retort, which you will boldly deliver to me in the form of a sour, blustering Facebook comment. Fuck your whole worldview right in the bump pipes. And that's okay. That's all part of it. Now, let's try a few more. Napoleon Bonaparte was not short. He was 5'7", which was taller than the average Frenchman at the time. You must be this tall to conquer Europe. Thomas Crapper did not invent the flush toilet, nor did the word crap come about because of his name. My legacy is shit. Houseflies live for about a month, not 24 hours. Life is short. False. Humans don't explode in a vacuum, nor do we boil. We just pass out from the lack of oxygen, and then we die. The three emotional phases of being blown out of an airlock. 1, shock. 2, more shock. 3, oh god, still in shock. Again, as you read these facts, take stock of how you feel. I'm guessing you softened to the last few fairly easily. Let's try a few more, and then we're done. There is zero evidence that Jesus Christ was born on December 25th. That's cool. I don't mind that you forgot my birthday. For the past 2,000 years. The Pledge of Allegiance was written by a socialist. 6 of the 7 justices who voted in favor of Roe v. Wade were Republican appointed. How'd those last 3 feel? Depending on your beliefs, I'm guessing it may have put some of you about here. At the very least, you can concede that it felt different to hear those statements compared to the ones about Napoleon or houseflies. Yes? But why? Why do we ease this off into some ideas, but not to others? Why do we gnash our teeth when presented with evidence counter to our beliefs? Why do we not only ignore this evidence, but dig our heels in deeper and believe more strongly in the opposing argument? Why would providing more evidence make someone less likely to believe in an idea? It seems backwards and batshit fucking bonkers to me. It turns out batshit fucking bonkers has a name in the world of neuroscience. It's called the backfire effect. And it's a well-documented psychological behavior. A few years ago, at the University of Southern California's Brain and Creativity Institute, a study was conducted where participants were placed in an MRI machine. Once inside, they were presented with counter-arguments to strongly held political beliefs. A few examples. Laws restricting gun ownership should be made more restrictive. Gay marriage should not be legalized. As participants were read these counter-arguments, various parts of their brains were scanned for activities. What the study revealed was that the same part of the brain that responds to a physical threat responds to an intellectual one. The area of the brain is known as the amygdala, and it's the emotional core of your mind. Fortunately, it makes us biologically wired to react to threatening information the same way we'd react to being attacked by a predator. From an evolutionary standpoint, it makes sense. If you were a caveman and another caveman threw a boulder at your head, you wouldn't react by logically debating the pros and cons of getting brained. Frank jealous of Jeff's nice cave. Frank killed Jeff and take cave. Goodbye, Jeff. Now, Frank, I think objectivity is the key here. Core beliefs are the beliefs which people cherish the most deeply. They usually develop from childhood and are compounded by life experiences. Core beliefs are inflexible, rigid, and incredibly sensitive to being challenged. A belief. I hate olives. A core belief. God created velociraptors. When I told you that George Washington's dentures were made from animal bones, it probably didn't ruffle too many feathers. But when I suggest they were made from slave teeth, I'm guessing it caused strife with some of you. There are obvious cultural reasons for this. Slavery is a sensitive, hot-button issue, but there are biological reasons as well. The amygdala of your brain is screaming, "Battle stations! I have no fear. I will kill it with swords." Some of you may have held a worldview that George Washington was a patriot and a hero. By presenting negative information about him, it challenged that worldview. Your brain loves consistency. It builds worldview like we build a house. It has a foundation and a frame and windows and doors, and it knows exactly how everything fits together. If a new piece is introduced and it doesn't fit, the whole house just falls apart. Your brain protects you by rejecting that piece. It then builds a fence and a moat and refuses to let in any visitors. This is why we have the backfire effect. It's a biological way of protecting a worldview. Just remember that your worldview isn't a perfect house that was built to last forever. It's a cheap condo, and over time, most of it will turn to shit. So, what do we do about this? Some of you have probably been nodding along in agreement, waiting for me to deliver a series of clever, combative ways to offset the backfire effect. The disappointing truth is that I don't have much advice for you. I don't have a way to change the behavior of 7.5 billion people carrying their beliefs around like precious gems wrapped in hand grenades. Sure, there are ways of changing people's minds that are more effective than others, but ultimately, they all fall short. This is compounded by the internet, where anything can be cited as a source, and every disagreement degrades into a room full of orangutans throwing feces at one another. Sharp but fucking shitty shit flick shuck. The best I can do is make you more aware of it, so you can identify the backfire effect in your own brain, which isn't easy. The mind can't separate the emotional cortex from the logical one. One could argue that this emotional underbelly is what makes us human, but I would argue that it's also what makes us animals. I hate your whole everything. Fuck you, Travis. I sometimes pretend the amygdala of my brain is my pinky toe. When a core belief is challenged, I imagine it yelling insane things at me. 1 plus 3 is 4. Don't listen, Matt. 1 plus 3 is tacos. I let it yell. Every mathematician in the world just confirmed that it's 4. That's just a conspiracy of taco haters. I let it have its moments. How can the sum of 2 integers be Mexican food? Don't disrespect my beliefs. I let the emotional cortex fight its little fight, and then I listen. And then I change. Because the universe of ours is so achingly beautiful, and we're all in it together. We're all going in the same direction. I'm not here to take control of the wheel, or to tell you what to believe. I'm just here to tell you that it's okay to stop, to listen, to change.